Good afternoon. Social housing staff in the city have voted in favor of a strike mandate.
It comes amid growing concerns over violence some workers experience on the job. CTV's Janice Golding is live with the details. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, Toronto community housing and senior housing workers have voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike mandate. At a news conference this morning, CUPE Local 79, which is the workers' union, says that 98% of staff at TCHC has voted in favor of a strike mandate, and 94% of TSHC workers have done the same. The workers say they're very concerned about escalating violence in the workplace and chronic understaffing due to unfilled vacancies. The union has also filed a no-board report with the Provincial Ministry of Labour, and once that report is issued, job action can start within 17 days. The union says staff have continually voiced despair, raising concerns about rising assaults, threats, and harassment. In fact, it says more than 66% have experienced safety concerns in the last year. Despite that, the union says staff are operating in workplaces without proper safety precautions, like working security cameras, panic buttons, or reinforced windows.
Together, these two corporations provide housing to more than 100,000 Torontonians, many of whom live with significant social and economic challenges. Yet both TCHC and TSHC's own budget documents admit that resources haven't kept up with the growing and complex needs of tenants.
I travel with tenants alone, and too often I've felt unsafe while simply doing my job. A job that exists to keep people housed and prevent evictions. This past July, our small team of EROs were shaken to its core. One of our dear colleagues was viciously attacked. She was assisting a tenant that was currently at risk of eviction when she was struck across the face with a metal rod. She managed to fight off her attacker, but then the tenant got in their vehicle and attempted to run her over with her car. This incident could have ended in tragedy.
The union says these workers support low and moderate income Canadians, or Torontonians rather, in more than 2,100 buildings. We are awaiting responses from their employers. Reporting live, Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. A driver has life-threatening injuries after a crash between an SUV and construction vehicle in North York early this morning. Police say the crash happened around 2:45 at Weston Road and Fenmar Drive. The driver of the SUV had to be extricated from the vehicle. He's fighting for his life in hospital. The man on the tractor was also hurt, but his injuries are not life-threatening. Weston Road is closed in both directions between Fenmar Drive and Tor York for the investigation.
A fire in Brampton has claimed the life of a senior. The flames were in an upper floor unit of a building on Hanover Drive near Queen Street and Bramalea Road. Police say a woman was found without vital signs. She was pronounced dead at the scene.
I lost my best friend. You know, she was my daughter. Now where I'm gonna go? Because I don't have best friends. I don't have nobody. She was everybody. So now when I'm bored, I don't know where I'm gonna go. She was the place when I feel the world is giving me hard time. I go, I put my head on her shoulder. I forget everything. She always pray for me and bless me. So yeah, it's very hard.
With an investigation underway, early indications are cooking could be a possible cause of the fire.
Durham Regional Police are investigating a stabbing east of Oshawa. The CTV News chopper was over the scene near Lake Breeze Drive and Toronto Street in Newcastle. Durham Regional Police say a female victim's in hospital with serious injuries and a male is in police custody. Investigators also say there is no concern for public safety. And here in the city, police are investigating a suspected arson in the St. Jamestown area. Around 9:40 this morning, Toronto Fire says crews responded to an apartment building at Jarvis and Wellesley. They found a fire in a storage locker in the underground parking. It was put out with no injuries reported. Still, the Office of the Fire Marshal has been notified, and police are looking for a suspect seen fleeing, heading north on Jarvis. An 8-year-old girl has died after being struck by a vehicle in Oakville.
Police say the driver left the roadway and struck the girl and her mother. CTV's John Musselman joins us live from the scene this afternoon with the details. John.
Michelle, this is, as you can imagine, a devastating situation. It just happened behind me yesterday afternoon around 4 o'clock. We'll show you some video that was shot yesterday. According to Halton Regional Police, a mother and her 8-year-old daughter were walking on this sidewalk on North Services Road West near Dorval. At some point, and it's still undetermined, a 47-year-old man in a car lost control and struck the woman and the young child. Now, both were rushed to hospital, to a trauma center. There was life-saving efforts made to save the 8-year-old child, but she did not survive. Her mother remains in hospital at this hour. We have been told by police that the driver of that car has since been charged in connection with this case. Here's what Halton Regional Police were able to tell us last night.
If you did see what happened today, obviously we would be looking for as many witnesses, dash cam video, for example, that we can. So please contact our general line with the Halton Regional Police Service if you did witness anything that happened today, and you will be put in contact with an investigator.
Now, this pathway sidewalk is just adjacent to the QEW. There are some industrial and financial buildings in this area, but not a lot of residential areas nearby. We're still trying to determine where this mother and child were headed. Reporting live from the scene, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Also today, Toronto police are asking for the public's help finding a missing woman. Police shared this image of 74-year-old Lynn. They say she was last seen around 7 o'clock yesterday evening in the area of Victoria Park Avenue and Cassandra Boulevard, close to Ellesmere. Police have set up a command post in the area as they keep up this search. They're asking anyone who might have seen Lynn to contact them. She's described as 5'4" with gray hair, last seen wearing a green winter jacket, gray leggings, and black shoes.
Toronto police say several community safety indicators are trending in the right direction.
Compared to last year, auto thefts have decreased by over 30%. Break-and-enters are down more than 12%. Homicides are down almost 54%. And shootings and firearm discharges are down over 43%.
Police say they're mindful of longer-term crime trends and will continue to keep up efforts to address gun violence, reduce response times, and address other challenges. Deputy Chief Rob Johnson also thanked officers for their work keeping crowds safe during the Blue Jays playoff run.
Members of the Jamaican community and Friends of the Island Nation gathered last night to help raise funds in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. CTV's Andrea Case has the details.
It was standing room only as hundreds of people gathered at the Jamaican Canadian Association on Arrow Road for the Hope for Jamaica concert.
If you love Jamaica, make some noise.
A benefit concert to raise funds to support the relief efforts for those impacted by Hurricane Melissa. Sylvanus Thompson is the Emergency Relief Response Coordinator for the JCA.
Almost every person in the diaspora in Canada, Jamaican diaspora in Canada, has a relative or friend in Jamaica. So it's very, very important that we come at this time to support our families and friends in Jamaica. And the outpouring of love and support is not just from the Jamaican diaspora in Canada. It's not just from the Caribbean or African diaspora. It's for everyone. They're here tonight to support the cause.
Mayor Chow also offered her support.
It's important for me to be here because my heart breaks when I saw the destruction that Hurricane Melissa have done to Jamaica. And the community is coming together to raise funds. I'm here to support the community effort, but also saying that there are many fire stations that are now open for the Torontonians to donate non-perishable goods, hygiene products, bring it into the fire station near you. We need it.
All the funds that we're raising are all the relief efforts that we're doing. Everything goes to the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management in Jamaica. That is the agency with responsibility for disaster relief efforts right across the island of Jamaica.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. It is windy and cool on this Friday, a little bit wet, and there is possibly some snow, so bear that in mind if you have any outdoor plans this weekend. Jessica Smith is here with a look at how things are right now. Hey, Jess.
We are definitely into that kind of transition, right, towards that more wintry weather. We've got rain right now, really gusty southwesterly winds. They become northwesterly tomorrow, and Sunday is the day we are watching out for that likelihood of some light snow. Now, depending on where you are in southern Ontario, the GTA will depend on what you're going to see. But for now, we're dealing with the rain. Not an all-day affair. You do get a break into the afternoon. Relatively mild, all things considered. We are going to see our daytime high sitting just above that seasonal point. And as we head in towards the day tomorrow, we're hovering just below. Right now, through the islands over towards Pearson, again, active weather, but still on the positive side. As we head into this evening, sitting right around 5 degrees, but that wind shifts northwesterly and it gets cold and it stays cold. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. We'll break down the snow. I know it's not a word everybody loves to hear this time of year, but 'tis the season. All those details coming up. Right now, it's back over to Michelle.
Thanks, Jessica. Alberta Conservative MP Matt Jeneroux is resigning after making the announcement in a letter posted to social media. It comes just 2 days after another MP crossed the floor to join the Liberals. CTV's Jeremy Charon was standing by with more from Ottawa. Lots going on. Jeremy, what can you tell us about this resignation?
Yeah, Michelle, look, this is a resignation that is putting the Conservative Party once again in the spotlight when it comes to challenges the party is facing. As you've touched on Budget Day, it was Chris d'Entremont who crossed the floor and spelled trouble for the Conservatives, of course. Then there was all kinds of talks and rumors about whether or not there would be more floor crossers. What we saw yesterday was Matt Jeneroux not cross the floor, but announce his resignation from the Conservative Party after rumors had swirled about he being one of the others that could cross the floor. On Wednesday, he was one of 2 Conservative MPs who put out a statement dispelling those rumors and clarifying that he would not be crossing the floor, that in fact he would remain a member of the Conservative Party, for him to only a day later announce his resignation. Now, he and the party have said that he is resigning for his reasons. There was no, specific reasoning given really in his statement as to why he was leaving, other than, he was running to hopefully be part of a government that would provide change for Canadians, and his party didn't get the result they were hoping for in the election. Therefore, he is resigning. Now, Conservatives were reacting to this yesterday. We heard from many of them who had kind words to say about their colleague. Here's a little more reaction from conservative MPs yesterday.
He was a good member of Parliament. He served Edmonton and Alberta well, and he was a valued member of our team, and he'll be missed.
I understand he is he's at a point in his life where he's just ready to move on, and he's been an MP for over 10 years. He's been a good MP, a good solid MP, great teammate. He supports this party. He supports our caucus. We all wish him well.
It's a sad day to see him go, but I am very happy for him and the choices that he's made.
Now, Liberals as well reacted to this news yesterday, questioned the timing, said that this is not a coincidence. Late in the day yesterday, MP Jeneroux posted on his social media platforms that he wanted to clarify that he was not coerced into making this decision, and shared kind words about Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. That's despite the fact that CTV News learned through sources and reported yesterday that sources had told us that as early as as recently as Wednesday, Jeneroux had met with a senior member of the Prime Minister's office, and that the understanding was that he would be crossing the floor. Sources close to Jeneroux confirm that Conservative Party officials made it clear to him that there would be consequences if he did so. And subsequently, that led to, on Wednesday, Mr. Jeneroux posting that he would not be crossing the floor, and then, of course, on Thursday announcing his resignation. So, the Conservatives deny that he was convinced or coerced into resigning rather than crossing the floor, but that is what we have learned from sources. Whether or not that is the reason for him leaving, Michelle, the one thing that is true is that the Conservatives have lost 2 members of their caucus in a very short period of time, and that is an issue that they are going to have to deal with.
2 in a week. So where do they go from here? And is there a sense, I know you're tapped in, there could be more losses on the way?
Well, there are a lot of talks, but there have been a lot of talks for some time now. At this point, there has been no other movement, if you will. What we do know is that when it comes to what's next, the timing of all of this is peculiar. You have an MP earlier this week in Chris D'Entremont who crossed the floor on budget day, and then you have Matt Genereux who announced his resignation on the first day of 3 confidence votes happening in the House. He did not vote on the Conservative sub-amendment vote that happened in the House yesterday, an important vote in the budget. It was a confidence matter. And so it means that moving forward, numbers are going to matter even more than they already did for the Conservatives, because it would appear they can't count on one more vote from Matt Genereux, although Pierre Poilievre has said that he won't be resigning officially until the spring. He didn't vote yesterday. So it would appear maybe they can't rely on his vote moving forward. But it also means that there will be more conversations now about a leadership review for Pierre Poilievre early next year, now that he's seen 2 members of his caucus leave in a short amount of time, and who knows what happens between now and then, right? So there are certainly many questions that this party is going to face moving forward.
CTV's Jeremy Charon live for us in Ottawa today. Thank you.
Anytime.
The Prime Minister is in Toronto for a speech this afternoon at the Canadian Club, followed by a fireside chat. This morning, he toured Harbourfront Centre, stopping to talk with some ceramic artists.
My wife is a ceramicist. Oh, really? Yeah. She does, basically, some functional. I mean, it's more and more, it seems functional as a bowl or a vase or something, but it's really artistic. She's trying to get it, very, very fine. Yeah. She likes the fact that she gets to go away from me for long periods of time.
Harbourfront Centre offers an opportunity to enjoy the arts, culture, learning, and recreation. Mark Carney's out selling this week's federal budget to Canadians, along with other members of the Liberal Party. The budget is expected to figure prominently in his address to the Canadian Club today.
Meanwhile, the Canadian economy added 67,000 jobs last month, and that was good enough to drive the unemployment rate down 0.2 of a percentage point to 6.9%. October's growth was driven by part-time work, with 85,000 positions added. The wholesale and retail trade sector saw the most growth, followed by transportation and warehousing. It was the second straight month of surprise job gains. Ontario led job growth provincially, with 55,000 positions added.
Travelers are facing cancellations and frustration in the U.S. as an order to reduce flights is now in effect. The Federal Transportation Secretary says they decided on cutting flights by 4% and gradually increased it after reviewing the number with the safety team.
They said the safest way to do this is to get to 10%, to do a step approach, and do it. We're doing it 4%, and then as you see, 4 days later we do 2, 2 days later we do another 2, and then 2 days after that we're at 10%. They thought, from the safety team and the administrator, that was the best way to do this and the safest way to do this, which is why that's what we rolled out.
The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration is delaying flights at 6 airports today to address air traffic staffing issues. At least 800 domestic or international flights were canceled this morning. The Federal Aviation Administration ordered the flight reductions as a response to the ongoing government shutdown, which has left air traffic controllers working without pay for more than 5 weeks.
Meanwhile, new data shows the number of Canadians making multiple trips to the U.S. in the past year has fallen significantly compared to previous years. The Angus Reid Institute survey indicates 1 in 10 Canadians have made more than one trip to the U.S. in the past 12 months. That's down from 19% in 2023 and 21% in 2017. And a winter getaway to Arizona or Florida is no longer the choice it might have been before. 70% say they would be uncomfortable traveling south of the border this winter. Many describe new border requirements for long-term visits, such as fingerprinting and registration fees, as invasive.
Tensions are running high at a British Columbia ostrich farm as the Canadian Food Inspection Agency moved in to cull hundreds of birds last night.
You are allowing them to kill the antibodies for H5N1.
Video sent to CTV News shows a tense scene as federal agents moved in. According to reports, more than 300 ostriches were herded into enclosures by agency workers in biohazard suits. The operation followed a Supreme Court decision earlier in the day, rejecting a final appeal from the farm's owners. The CFIA first ordered the cull last December after a positive avian flu test. The case drew international attention and sparked protests over what critics called government overreach.
A major class action lawsuit has been filed involving the streaming platform Spotify.
It alleges millions of streams were artificially boosted and some artists benefited with inflated payouts. CTV's Adrian Gobriel has the details.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
For Canadian rap royalty Drake, Spotify has been his own hotline to bling, cashing in an estimated $350 million off the streaming service.
And I know when that hotline bling.
Though the scathing lawsuit alleges that Drake has profited off of a fraudulent streaming scheme. The lawsuit is against Spotify. Drake is not being sued, though his name appears in the suit 32 times. The allegations against him paint a roadmap of alleged fraud. Filed in a California district court, the suit states that Spotify knows or should know that music streams for a particular song have been artificially and fraudulently inflated through the use of bots.
If we don't have strict rules and laws around streaming of music, we're going to see a lot of fabricated numbers.
A Spotify spokesperson says the company in no way benefits from the industry-wide challenge of artificial streaming, going on to say they use best-in-class systems to combat it and safeguard artist payouts.
It would benefit them a lot to exaggerate the amount of people that are using the streaming service.
You hating on numbers untouchable, they got the data wrong.
The lawsuit claims that over a 4-day period in 2024, at least 250,000 streams of Drake's song No Face originated in Turkey, but were falsely geomapped through the coordinated use of VPNs in the United Kingdom. In September, Drake became the first artist to reach 120 billion streams on Spotify. The platform pays out royalties through a stream share model where a pool of money is divided based on each artist's total streams.
It's the smaller artists that are being affected the most.
Requests for comment from Drake's representatives have so far gone unanswered. The lawsuit notes that while Drake is being used as an example, there are others. He doesn't stand alone. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Bit of a soggy start to our Friday, but the good news is at least we get a break as we head into the afternoon and evening and into the day tomorrow. We are looking at a bit of active weather, so if you're making your way out this afternoon and into the day tomorrow, make sure you bring the umbrella with you. The showers do taper off as we head in towards the 6 o'clock hour, but the winds do not. If you're going to the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair, you'll need the umbrella. Into your Saturday, it's not too bad. A little sunshine to start the day, but the cloud cover rolls in and we are watching for snow. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
It's Friday and definitely a little bit wet, noticing the umbrellas out with all our reporters and some wind in the mix, but at least it's not too cold.
Right, but definitely, as Jess was saying, it is a transition. Things are changing.
You have to pack for everything this time of year. So maybe a little bit of winter in the morning and spring in the afternoon. We are seeing that transition take place as we head through the next couple of days. So if you're heading out this afternoon, as Michelle said, not necessarily that cold, but it is going to be very, very windy. And it just gets windier as we head into the day tomorrow, just a cooler wind. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, we've seen a few showers early on, but for the most part, the day started off dry, just windy. So beautiful if you're watching from inside, but a little cool if you're out there. The fall color's still very beautiful, but we're starting to see again, as these windy days come through and blow a lot of those leaves off the trees, that transition to more wintry weather is taking place as we speak. But the good news is at least it's relatively mild today, all things considered. Right now sitting at 8 degrees here in the city of Toronto, 10 through Windsor, but anywhere kind of north of Sudbury, they've already experienced that little bit of a cool down. We'll see that come through as we head in towards likely the end of our Saturday into our Sunday. We're sitting at 11 degrees for our daytime high, so still above seasonal. The same almost right across the board, the exception being our friends out in Bancroft. And the rain, not an all-day affair. It does end as we head into the afternoon, so a little bit of a break later on. Overnight dropping down to about 5 degrees. So again, holding on above seasonal. We get the break in the afternoon. Overnight, we see a little bit of shower activity return before another break. Sunday really is a day where we're watching for snow. This is the first system as it pushes its way through. Rain for us, for our friends to the north, a little bit more in the way of that heavier snow. These lows will push through. Again, a bit of a break tonight and into the start of the day tomorrow before another system south of the border crosses over, bringing our likely first snowfall, at least for the GTA. Not a ton, but it'll be noticeable. As we head in towards 6 o'clock, again, relatively dry for the drive if you're heading home, kicking off your weekend. We get through the overnight and into the start of your Saturday. Some sunshine, a bit of a break. For me, anyways, I can help transition better into the winter season, at least when there is some sunshine out there. As we head into the lunch hour, again, really beautiful. If you have errands to run, Saturday probably your day, because Sunday a little bit less exciting because of all the active weather. As it pushes through our Sunday morning, again, we're likely to see a little bit more in the way of a light snow or mixing for us here in the downtown core in the GTA. Heavier as far as snow goes for areas further north. But we'll watch this as we head into the day because it does get quite a bit cooler. Regardless, this is that transition into that winter season, so be careful if you're driving anywhere to the north through your Sunday. Temperature-wise, still relatively mild Friday, Saturday. Sunday, we see that drastic cool down. It is a little bit below that seasonal point across the board. And then the flurries will start to taper out into your Monday morning. We get a little more sunshine. So again, not necessarily a massive snow event, but the first one we've had, so it always kind of is a bit of a shock to the system. Heading in towards your Tuesday for Remembrance Day, it is overcast, but it is likely to stay dry. Hopefully this helps you plan. Michelle, Nathan, I'll send things back to you.
It sure does. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Well, the snow may not be falling just yet, but Mississauga is looking ahead.
The city's released their winter maintenance plan, including new fines for residents who park on city streets during major snow events. The city of Mississauga has its eye on the coming storm. More than 800 pieces of snow removal equipment are ready to go, including these new machines that will help clear snow that can block the end of driveways.
Windrow is that pile of snow at the end of the driveway after the plow clears the street. We'll have another piece of equipment coming afterwards to clear a minimum of a 3-meter wide opening at the bottom of the driveway so residents can get in and out of their driveways easier.
The city of Mississauga approved this added $15 million expenditure in the snow removal budget, which now totals $52 million. The city will also increase its sidewalk clearing capabilities by adding 900 kilometers of city sidewalks.
For safety, to making sure that our residents are able to move safely, regardless of if they're walking, using transit, or driving.
And to make snow clearing more efficient, the city's introduced a new penalty for people who park on city streets when plows are out. It wants to avoid situations like this when a plow operator can't get past vehicles parked on both sides of the street.
We're out, worst weather conditions possible. Get to a situation like this, you saw the wing plow, we can't get through, adds multiple hours to our operation.
According to the Mississauga winter parking restrictions, expect a $150 fine for those who park vehicles on the road when the city declares a winter parking restriction and plows are out. Residents will be advised of citywide winter restrictions on its website and on social media channels.
To avoid this, we encourage them not to park on the roadway when it snows and to stay up to date on the winter citywide winter parking restriction through our website.
The city of Mississauga says it will clear priority roads first after any significant snowfall for emergency vehicles in transit. Residential roads will be cleared within 24 to 36 hours after the snow has stopped. This is the calm before the snow.
Back in Toronto, there's a major downtown subway closure to keep in mind this weekend. Line 1 trains won't be running between St. George and St. Andrews stations on Saturday or Sunday. The TTC says this closure is to allow for planned station work. And while Wheel-Trans service will be available, shuttle buses will not be running. Instead, officials say riders can take the Yonge side of the downtown U and surface routes to reach their destinations. And then starting late tonight, GO trains will not be running all weekend on the Kitchener line. Metrolink says crews are expanding the line to enable two-way all-day service. Replacement buses will run from Mount Pleasant, Brampton, Innovation District, and Bramalea GO stations to the Highway 407 bus terminal. Replacement buses will also run instead of Union Pearson Express trains. They will not stop at Bloor or Weston GO.
Still ahead, shining a light on new cancer research from Wilfrid Laurier University that measures the brain's glow. We'll illuminate your mind after the break. Well, did you know your brain has a glow? Wilfrid Laurier University researchers have built a helmet that measures our brain's billions of cells, which give off light.
And as CTV's Spencer Turcott tells us, they can use those light emissions to detect and diagnose cancer in its earliest stages.
We put gel into each of these 19 electrodes.
It looks like a mad science experiment.
So it just sits snugly on top.
And it kind of is, but this mad science has the potential to save lives.
The general gap that we have in cancer detection is that we're completely reliant on biomolecules, genes, and physical constructs.
Wilfrid Laurier Assistant Professor Narosha Murugan is the brains behind the quest to find another way to detect the disease. Her team of researchers landed on the light that our cells emit.
If we're trying to look for a way to non-invasively detect brain cancer with one of the most common aggressive forms is glioblastoma, we kind of need to tease apart the signals.
So using ultra-sensitive detectors to pick up individual photons, sensors in this helmet record the electrical and photonic landscape of our brains.
Our goal is to detect cancer in the earliest form.
It's really consistent, a few spikes.
The trouble with current cancer detection technology is that it requires an accumulation of cancer tissue captured by imaging or biomarkers that may be hard to access or is too far along once found.
What we mean by early is that when that single cell starts to make a decision to go from its healthy state to something that's what we consider not normal.
Catching it at the single cell level could lead to earlier diagnoses and lower risk of mortality. Now Murugan is working with a medical oncologist to track patients undergoing chemotherapy to see if they can identify cognitive impairments following treatment. If successful, the magnetic fields may also have the ability to halt progression of psychiatric illnesses.
I think our technology has the potential to be on the preventative side.
A no-brainer in her eyes when it comes to pushing cancer research and overall wellness ahead. Spencer Turcott, CTV News, Waterloo.
Toronto Raptors are looking for their fourth win in a row tonight.
On a handoff for Scotty, recognizes clock, strip, scoops it up and finishes. That was not a pretty...
The Raptors are coming off a 128-100 win over the visiting Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday. Tonight, they're in Atlanta, who are also winners in their game Tuesday. Tonight will be Toronto's second group stage game in the NBA Cup. The team opened the in-season tournament with a win October 31st.
To the Blue Jays in that painful Game 7 World Series loss. Still hurts, doesn't it? And top brass took time to unpack the season with the media.
As CTV Sean Leathon reports, they were both reflecting on the past season and looking ahead to the next one.
Days after the World Series ended, the Rogers Centre sits still. Some packing done for the off-season, with small pieces of confetti remaining on the field from a celebration fans didn't want to see. Not far away, Blue Jays president Mark Shapiro were giving his year-end news conference with a different feeling than in years past.
When you think about giving your life to working in sports, you do so for the moments that you think you might be able to lift a community. But you never imagine what it could mean to lift a community coast to coast.
This year's Jays team got within one run of winning the World Series and seemed to captivate not just Toronto but the country. Shapiro saying that it was for reasons beyond wins and losses.
This is a world-class city, you know, an incredible place to play. It's the best ballpark or one of the best ballparks in all of Major League Baseball. We care deeply about our players. I think that, you know, their families and wives have been testament to that over the past week.
While fans may not be ready to let this team go, the business of baseball is moving on. Bench coach Don Mattingly will not return next season after having been with the club for 3 years. Pitcher Shane Bieber will return, which has been welcomed by the club and fans. Pitchers Chris Bassett and Max Scherzer have expressed a desire to return but are free agents. And then there's the question of Bo Bichette, the team confirming they have made a qualifying offer but expect Bichette to test the open market. GM Ross Atkins saying the Blue Jays will be a bidder for Bichette, but there are no guarantees fan favorites will be back.
Constantly be thinking about getting better, and that is one way to think about carrying on what has already occurred and improving upon what was good, but you just have to be open to other ways to doing it.
But within the Blue Jays front office, there's a new bar for success as the comeback kids who almost won it all.
You never go into a planning cycle, which is what Ross is leading our group through right now, in the process of leading our group through, without some understanding that you just can't recreate something identical. You know, you've got to build off of what happened.
And now that season is in the rearview mirror, and work begins on building for 2026. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
Mayor Olivia Chow and other dignitaries were on hand today as they officially kicked off the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair at Exhibition Place.
It is the largest indoor agriculture and horse show in the world. Okay, I'm talking about in the world, not just in Canada. Each year, more than 300,000 people come and visit and celebrate the best of Canadian agriculture, food, horsemanship, and there are more than 5,000 animals here. Whether it's in competition or educational demonstrations, the standard for excellence are second to none.
And you can check out the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair through to November 16th, and we'll have a look at all the activities and the attractions to check out on CTV News at 5 and 6. Short break. More work.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
All right, Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Toronto today, speaking at the Canadian Club. Let's listen in.
In that thing. I'd also like to thank Colleen Kennedy and the Canadian Club team for getting this together, hosting us. And our sponsors. TD felt a bit, because they're always last in the order, so I'm going to start with TD and work my way to Agnew Eagle, and then remember that I can remember Canada Life, but not the other one, because there is a fourth, right? There is a fourth. Bruce Power. Bruce Power. Who could forget about Bruce Power? Well, Bruce Power is going to come up, at least implicitly in this speech. Look, it is an honor. I'm very grateful to have this platform this evening, or this afternoon. It will be the evening by the time I finish. Did anyone actually watch? Did anyone watch Champagne's budget speech, by the way? I had to. I was sitting next to him. And hour and 20 minutes. Hour and 20 minutes. So this will be slightly shorter than Champagne, who I see is coming to the Canadian Club, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So take the afternoon off when you come for that. But every word is gold from him. But the main thing is Amber is going to interview me shortly, and then you're going to have some questions. But I'm going to spend 15 minutes probably. I was only given 10, but I'm going to spend 15. Champagne minutes, 15 champagne minutes going through a few things about the budget. And in part because, just starting with this platform, the Canadian Club, obviously, illustrious history here, and prime ministers have come here over the years, and occasionally at times of profound change. William Lyon Mackenzie King visited this forum to promote the war effort and the aftermath in 1943. Brian Mulrooney came to the club in 1988 to argue for a free trade agreement with the United States. I'd like to argue for a free trade agreement with the United States. He was a little more successful on that. But no, he argued for that successfully, as we all know, and was prescient because this was on the cusp of what was would become a decades-long process of greater openness and deeper integration around the world that led to great prosperity. So the point is that, history of nations, certainly the history of Canada, is punctuated by such times when our actions can be decisive. And we're in one now, to be clear. We're in one now. Technological change is accelerating rapidly. The world has become more dangerous and divided, and that decades-long process of an ever closer economic relationship between Canada and the United States is over. And as a consequence of particularly that last point, many of our former strengths, based on our close ties to America, have become our vulnerabilities. And this is happening fast. This is not a transition, it's a rupture. And it means that our economic strategy needs to change dramatically and rapidly. And that's the context, that was the context for Tuesday's budget, the first of our government. Now, in the budget, we estimate that U.S. tariffs and the uncertainty that they're creating will cost Canadians about 1.8% of our GDP. Translating that, it's about $50 billion lost from our economy, the equivalent of about $1,300 for every Canadian. And if we don't act now, those losses will only grow. So part of our point is that nostalgia is not a strategy. The U.S. has changed, that's their right. But we must respond. That is our imperative. What the budget does is it builds Canada strong by focusing on what we can control. And that's building at home to protect and empower Canadians. It's boosting our productivity to drive lasting prosperity. It's transforming how government works for you. And it's diversifying our trade partners to create more opportunity and greater independence. We estimate that the budget, measures in the budget will help unleash over $1 trillion in investment over the next 5 years. And that alone will increase our GDP by 3.5%. That's about $3,500 for every Canadian. In other words, twice of what's being taken from us. Le budget 2025 est la nouvelle stratégie économique dont le Canada a besoin pour relever ce défi et en sortir.
To take up this challenge and come out even stronger. A confident Canada that is taking its future in control. To achieve that, we need to attack the long-standing economic issues that go beyond tariffs.
So what I'd like to do is highlight a few elements of that strategy before that conversation with Amber. The first, as I said, we are building at home by making generational investments. We're working to create the right conditions to get big things built in Canada. In June, we passed the One Canadian Economy Act to remove federal barriers to internal trade and to fast-track the approval of nation-building projects. In August, we opened the Major Projects Office, headed by one of Canada's most accomplished CEOs, Don Farrell. That office is a single point of contact to get nation-building projects built faster, projects that will connect, diversify, and propel our economy forward, projects that will expand our exports to new partners, and projects that will create hundreds of thousands of good-paying union jobs for Canadian workers. Last month, we announced the first tranche of these major projects, $60 billion in investments in nuclear power, in LNG, carbon capture, critical minerals, and new trade corridors. Ces projets comprennent des ports, des corridors énergétiques, des projets d'exploitation de minéraux critiques et des
critical mineral projects,
d'énergie propre
and clean energy initiatives that will allow our economy to be better connected and diversify our industries. It will also allow us to access new markets and create well-paid careers. The first 5 projects assigned to the Major Projects Office will represent a total of...
We're listening to Prime Minister Mark Carney speaking at the Canadian Club in Toronto, and he just talked about the challenging times that we're in right now, the new economic relationship with the U.S. and how it has to change. And that's what he says his budget is all about, which he's trying to sell. He calls it a response to the situation, and the need now is to build at home, and that's in the budget, to diversify trade partners and create jobs. Now, the first confidence vote survived yesterday, just a note. The second confidence vote is scheduled for today, and the Liberals need 2 more opposition MPs to reach the votes needed. Of course, we'll keep on following this story. We'll give you a recap of what he has to say here at 5 and 6 tonight and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca. More news after the break. Stay with us.
The city has announced that Cavalcade of Lights is returning later this month.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Woohoo! The annual event featuring music, skating, and holiday cheer will kick off at Nathan Phillips Square on November 29th and run until January 7th. More than 300,000 LED lights will illuminate the tree starting November 12th, marking the beginning of the holiday season. And residents can also take part in the New Year's skating party on January 4th. Organizers say this year's cavalcade embraces the themes of illumination, cross-cultural celebration, and winter activity. What a tree!
Another sign that, you know, winter's coming. Snow's coming.
So I've been told.
It's feeling cold these days.
It is, and I feel like we had such a warm start to the fall season, and it feels like that transition happened so quickly, but this is just very seasonal for this time of year. Gusty today, gusty tomorrow, but the difference is we're watching for the rain that we have to transition into snow. Different systems, but nonetheless, it's going to be a little messy start to finish throughout the weekend. Seeing showers right now that taper off this afternoon, still quite mild, sitting at 8 degrees here in the city, 10 through Windsor, the same in Niagara and Kingston. Now, as we head into the day tomorrow, some sunshine to start. Again, a little messy through the overnight and into your Sunday, but hey, it's almost winter.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.